channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 12 scene locations in Charleston, South Carolina that the TV show Outer Banks from Netflix was filmed at. So I'm going to be explaining the story of kind of how we found them, what happened when we went there, and what it actually looked like in real life. And you can live vicariously through my experience by watching this video. Don't mind me, I'm sitting in my rental car and it's casually 102 degrees right now. It's very hot. So in the show, you will see that there is a division between the kooks and the pogues, which are the names of the two different social classes in the TV show. And in real life, there actually are neighborhoods that represent those pretty well. So in South Carolina, there's an area called Sullivan's Island and also another area called Island of Palms, and it has a ton of multi-million-dollar houses, which are perfect representations of the kook lifestyle. In comparison, there's also the Pogue lifestyle area, which is known as John's Island and James Island. So when we were driving around South Carolina and actually saw this in person, it was pretty dang cool because the show replicated it pretty well to show the difference of the two social classes and the houses that they would have. What is interesting though is Sarah's house and John B's house are not exactly located in that area. Sarah's house was located on the opposite side of where Sullivan's Island was because it's actually not a real house. So Sarah's house is actually a wedding venue and you can go and have your wedding there if you want, but it's not really a house. However, it is exactly how it looks in the show, except that it has these white buildings behind it that add to the wedding venue that you would never see in the show because they don't ever show that part. They only show you what the front of the house looks like and the inside of it. But it is just as beautiful as they portray it in the show. And what's very interesting is you're driving in a very normal neighborhood and then all of a sudden you find the gates and you see the house.
So this is definitely where they filmed all of like the dock scenes, because here's like one of the main docks and right over there is the Cameron's house. You see that boat on that little pier, okay, right there. Boom. This is where they shot it. There it is. And I'm right behind her house.
So that was a little bit about Sarah's house. In comparison to John B's house, that was actually located down on John or James Island, I believe. My brother was able to figure out the area that the house was located in, and so we just looked on a map and we were driving along the houses that were over by the shore. And as we were driving, they were all very like middle-class houses. So we're like, this just doesn't make sense. Like, you know, we assumed that the John B house was gonna be more within a cut environment. But as we were driving down, we saw this one house and I saw through the trees that it looked just like John B's house. The paint was the same color, had the tan paint on the outside and then the reddish top. And then it also had the chateau that was kind of going off of it. And the neighbors actually had, this is a crazy thing of how we actually think it was John B's house, because the neighbors had a chateau with a red top. And if you really watch the show and pay attention, you will see that you can see it in the distance kind of behind them as they're filming, but it's not their chateau. So when we made that connection, we were like, that's 100% John B's house. It was also very wooded, which would make for a good place to film because there aren't people driving by and seeing you filming all the time. You have a lot more privacy. And so we were like, yeah, that's probably John B's house that we just found. And then I was watching a YouTube video and another girl happened to go there and she filmed the exact same house. So it was John B's house. I only took a small clip of it, but we did not want to trespass. That is not nice. Please, if you ever go look at scene locations, do not trespass. That is not good to do. So we just drove by, checked it out, and continued on our drive. Shem Creek is a little waterway that the boats go through in the show, and it is actually a real place in Charleston too. There's lots of restaurants and stores along the waterway, and you see a ton of docks and marshland, so it looks pretty identical to what you see in the show. And so there was a scene at the very beginning of the show where the hurricane comes in and you see John B and JJ on a boat and they're going to pick up, I believe, Pope and Key, and this is before they run into the boat that sank. So some of the things that we noticed was the Wreck restaurant, which is Kiawah's dad's restaurant in the TV show and a real restaurant in real life. You can actually go and eat there, and they filmed right in the real restaurant and also outside the restaurant when Kiawah was getting on the boat in one scene. You can also see multiple docks throughout the whole scenes that they filmed there. I took this photo with my mom, and you can actually see in the background that there is a dock. We stood on the dock that the cops went to go find the sunken ship, and we also were right by the dock that was kind of all broken. Another interesting thing about Shem Creek is that they actually filmed a couple other scenes that we didn't know happened there. So for example, you see a scene where Pope goes to get gas and he gets in a fight with his dad, and we found the spot that Pope gets pretty angry once the gold is taken off and in the plane and it has disappeared. We saw the shed because we walked through where the shed and the boats were. I noticed that there was a shed there. I was like, wow, that looks a lot like the shed that Pope got super angry in, and we rewatched the scene. JJ looks up at the sky and he sees the plane cross the sky, and in the bottom part you'll see boats down there, and those boats are there in real life, so we made the connection that that's where they filmed the shed scene too. So another scene that we randomly found was we were just driving to Sullivan's Island, and all of a sudden we go over this bridge, and I was like, whoa, this bridge looks a lot like that opening scene in the trailer or in the beginning of episode 1. And so as we're going over the bridge, I realized that it definitely was the bridge. And so we actually turned back around and we kind of analyzed it, and we saw that they had put a fake Welcome to the Outer Banks sign up. There's a small sign behind the Welcome to the Outer Banks sign that's kind of upside down, and we noticed that because we were watching the show at the same time we were there. We're like, that's the exact same sign, so they made the connection that they filmed them driving across that bridge, and they did the drone shots of the water and everything. So the first thing we see for episode 4 are the boats that they ride on. So they ride on this big boat that you see them take to and from what they call Chapel Hill in the show. And those are real boats in Charleston that they actually use to transport people around the waters. There is a park down in Charleston, and it is called Washington Square Park, and that is where John B. and Sarah film a really short clip where they're like taking off their yellow jackets from getting off the boat. So then after the park scene, we happen to find Ben Silver, which is a store in downtown Charleston, and this was the very first scene location that we found. We were just walking to breakfast one morning, and next thing you know, I look over and it was Ben Silver, and I freaked out because I was shocked that I saw it just randomly walking on the street. Again, it just kind of happened, and it was super cool for me. I was really excited to see this place, but the only way you can get into Ben Silver is by appointment, so we did not go in, but it did look exactly like how they originally filmed it. And then a little bit later in episode 4, they go to what they call UNC Chapel Hill to go to the archives. In real life, that place is called the Charleston Gilliard Center, and it's actually a performing arts center, and it is exactly how you would imagine in real life. We saw the shot where they were walking up to the building. We saw where they were kind of having their little banter back and forth with like the phones, and then we saw, you know, where they walked into, and so that was really interesting getting to see that in real life. And what's very ironic is the following scene that happens a little bit later, the dock scene where they get off the dock and there's the really dramatic like kissing scene that kind of like blew up on the internet. That scene and the what they call Chapel Hill, which is the performing arts building, are seriously like a 1-minute drive away from each other. We couldn't believe how close in proximity the areas were. In real life, it looks exactly like that. Of course, they just added extras and more boats, and it was really foggy, so you didn't see this, but in real life, there is a massive bridge, a huge bridge to the right. So the last location that we found in Charleston was Miss Crane's house. So Miss Crane is the crazy lady that has the well underneath her house. That is where the gold is, and that is a real house in Charleston, and so we're like, okay, let's go find it. So we looked it up and we drove to the location, and it is on a busy road. You would have no idea, but it's actually on a busy road. And the other thing that's crazy is they CGI'd the whole top part of the house. So in real life, the house actually looks like this. I'll show you a little screenshot. And this is what it looks like in the show. So you can see that they actually CGI'd it. You also see them hop over like a wall, that was not there. I don't know how they filmed that because that wall was not there. But the greenery that you see in the show that they're like walking through and everything like that definitely was there because this house had a lot of overgrown, you know, greenery everywhere. And so now that I kind of told you about what we found in Charleston, I'm now gonna go over to Kiawah Island. One of my favorite episodes is episode 5, which is Midsummers. And Midsummers was filmed at Kiawah Island. My mom actually booked a dinner at the area called the Atlantic Room, which is the restaurant in the building that they filmed Midsummers at. I did not know this till about 5 minutes before we were going there. I made the connection that this was the building from Midsummers. I knew it was in Kiawah, but I did not know it was the ocean course until I got there. So I was beyond excited to go to this filming location. It was probably the most exciting one for me because I loved Midsummers, so getting to see the building in real life was super, super cool. And pretty much it is just a golf building. It has a restaurant inside, a bar, it has, you know, like some golf shops, it has the golf course and the ocean right behind it. And so some of the scenes that we saw there is we saw a scene that you see in episode 3 where the pogues all get out of their car, and that little scene was filmed in the parking lot that we parked in. We watched the scene where JJ is running through, and you can see him run through like a middle area and then also through like a hallway and a staircase. And so we found the bathroom and the staircase that he goes into, and we found the bathroom that the fight happened in with him and Rafe and everyone. And so that all happened in this building. We also found where Pope and his dad were kind of bantering back and forth, and we took that little video too. And we also found the scene where the whole Cameron family comes out all dressed up, and I filmed kind of what that looked like in real life. And immediately when we got there, I realized it. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's it right there. And then I also filmed the iconic backdrop scene. So actually at the building, there is a sign that says backdrop, and it is real. And then you actually see the little backdrop. She walks kind of down this area and then turns and gets kind of in a fight with Topper, and that happens at the very entrance of the building. And we also saw where John B and JJ pull their boat up into the water. And so since this was filmed in 2019 and I went here in 2021, the water was a little bit different. It had much of a lower tide than it did then, but they definitely filmed in this little water area that was right below from the building. Another fun fact before I end this video is they did just drop the trailer for season 2, and I was actually watching the trailer, and now that I've been to Charleston, I recognized an area that they filmed at. So they show a shot of 3 houses, and we were walking on that road, and I randomly took a photo of this yellow house and a pink house just because I thought they were pretty. And then I was watching the trailer and I was like, oh my gosh, those are the houses that I took pictures of. That is my video about finding Outer Banks locations in real life. I hope you enjoyed, and I will be back next Wednesday with another video. See you then. Bye!